Hey, are we live? What's up, everybody? I'm not sure if we're on or not. Let's give it a few minutes, see what's going on. What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Donnie B. We're going to give it a few more minutes and we're going to start. Happy Friday. Everybody. It's your girl, Donnie B. We're gonna give it. Okay. What's up, everybody? Happy Friday. We made it again. We are COVID free, hopefully. Everybody's safe and healthy, still working. I'm like, August ain't playing no games. Is anybody else cold? I almost turned the heat on last night. Like, what is going on? I'm like, August came right into it. Like, yeah, we about to get fall going. We ain't even gonna wait for summer to finish out. We just gonna go right into fall and get 2020 over with. You heard? I'm like, it is cold outside, y'all. So, at any rate, how y'all doing? So, y'all know I always like to start the show by talking about what I'm watching this week. So, I'm watching Kingdom on Netflix. Hey, Casey, how you doing, love? Happy Friday. So, has anybody else seen Kingdom on Netflix? So I'm not sure what original station it comes on, but I've been watching it. There's 3 series they posted on Netflix, and I'm loving it. It's about Nick Jonas from the Jonas Brothers. He's one of the stars of the show, and it's basically all about MMA, fighting, UFC fighting, mixed martial arts, and that type of thing. It's got everything in it: sex, drug addiction, human trafficking, MMA fighting, even homosexuality, but it's not in your face the way Lee Daniels did with Empire. It's real. It's subtle. It's not, the new norm that we've been seeing where basically you got men having sex in the shower and all that. It's nothing like that. The homosexuality aspect of it is a very small, minuscule part of the show. So don't let that stop you from watching. The main thing is the MMA fighting, which I got a newfound perspective on that. MMA is violent, y'all. I would never let my son do it. I'm looking like basically it's your job to go in the ring and try to kill somebody. They put them to sleep. It's bloody. I don't really know if I would call it a sport. To me, it's violent. And then they got this thing called cut weight, which I don't know if there's any MMA fighters out there, anybody into jiu-jitsu, mixed martial arts. Let me know if what I'm seeing is real. But on the show, they show that basically the day before the fight, you got to drastically cut weight and lose like 10 to 20 pounds and get weighed in that evening. And then the next day is when you actually have the MMA match. And you got people that are 155 pounds. They got to be 145 in 24 hours. And they got on sweatsuits. They're in and out of the sauna. They take the treadmill and the elliptical. And there it is. And they put it inside the sauna. And you're working out on the treadmill or on the elliptical or on the bike trying to lose this cut weight in a day. It's crazy. So newfound respect for what it takes to get in shape. But then you do all that, and the fight is literally like 3 2-minute rounds. Like, it's crazy. So you spend 3 months of your life training for something that literally lasts for less than 10 minutes. So I want to know, anybody that's in MMA, if you've seen this show called Kingdom on Netflix, what do you think about the fight scenes? Are they real? Is that a realistic portrayal of how they really are, or what? I don't know because I don't watch MMA. But from what I see on this show, I'm good. Respect for the people that do it, but to me, like it's madness. Your job is to basically plummet and kill the other person. So you break noses, collarbones, like anything goes. You kicking people. There seems to be very limited rules. It's not like boxing and some of the other sports where there's rules to it. Basically, the only rule I see is don't hit them in a private. But other than that, sleeper holds, throwing people against the wall, throwing people across the cage, like. It's WWF, but for real. So anyway, that's what I've been watching this week. I'm on season 3, episode 8. I started last week with season 1, and it's good. On a scale of 1 to 10, I give it an 8. And Nick Jonas does a good job. He's cute, y'all. If I was a little Italian, white girl, I'd date him. He's cute. So that's what I'm watching this week. I don't know what y'all watching. Kingdom on Netflix. Let me know what y'all think. Check it out and get back to me. So let's talk about what's been happening this week. I've been seeing a lot of stuff happening this week that I want to talk about. The first is, have you guys seen, let me go to my Facebook, what we call pandemic pods. So basically, it's some privileged white folk stuff where basically you don't feel comfortable with your kid going back to school. So you literally get a storage pod, and you and a couple of your neighbors who have kids that are the same age hire a teacher to come teach your kids in a private setting with 3 or 4 kids in a pod. And I was like, what in the pandemic is going on? So I saw that the other day. I posted the article. Let me pull it up and tell y'all what y'all think. So I'm like, basically, I don't see how you're any safer. So you take 3 kids from the neighborhood and you put them in this pod, but y'all all come from 3 different homes. So you're in this pod with a teacher. So that's 4 potential avenues of exposure to COVID for me. And you got to trust in that the kids and their parents, what are they doing when they're not in school, when they're not in this pod that could cause you to be at risk for COVID. So I feel like unless you're having a teacher come and teach privately to just your kid, this isn't any safer than the hybrid model of going back to school. The bottom line is we need to stay home. So I'm not a fan of the pandemic pods. I feel like it's some privileged rich people stuff they came up with to make them think they're doing something. And it just doesn't make sense to me. And it's expensive. Is it that serious? Would you rather pay for a teacher to come with 3 of your neighbors and chip in to pay a whole teacher salary and rent a pod and put that on your front lawn than just homeschool your kid? Because I feel like if you got money to pay for a pandemic pod, then you got internet at home and you probably have the resources and the ability to stay home and just homeschool your kid and do the virtual thing. Like what's really going on? But I don't know. Is it just me? I don't know what the heck a pandemic pod is. I don't really think it makes sense. I don't think it's any safer. I think rich folks don't have anything to do. And they're not okay with the hybrid model, which as you guys see today, there's an article that came out that said the hybrid model that we're doing, there's an epidemiologist. Her name is Jennifer Nuzzo. And she's at Johns Hopkins, Bloomberg School of Public Health. And she says, and I quote, the hybrid school back to school model is probably amongst the worst that we could be putting forward if our goal is to stop the virus getting into schools. I don't see how in the end this helps teachers. I don't fully get the hybrid model. She says it's dangerous. And she says you're basically putting kids in a bottleneck and then they go home, and it's the same thing I got with the pandemic pod. We can't control what they're doing on their off time. And then they all come back to school and we're supposed to feel safe. So I'm like, scrap the hybrid model, scrap the pandemic pod, and let's just keep our kids at home until January and then see what it looks like at that time. Is it just me? But how many of you have heard of pandemic pods? Where my teachers at? What do you think? Would you teach in a pandemic pod? Do you think that the hybrid model is safe, or do you think that it's a very dangerous, most dangerous option? I think it's way more dangerous than online. Online to me is a win-win as far as the spread of COVID. Now there might be some issues with childcare and academics, but if you're not trying to get COVID, the hybrid model makes no sense to me. It's exposure there. What else happened this week? The health commissioners are quitting. Did you guys see the New York City health commissioner? She quit. She basically said that the mayor of New York is not listening to her and that their voice, the health professionals' voice is not being heard. So she said peace. Dr. Acton quit. So, she quit being our health director a few months back in the middle of the crisis, which pissed me off. I'm like, we need you, Dr. Acton, and you're quitting on us in the middle of the game. We're in a championship game. It's the 11th hour. We're in the clutch and we need you, and you quit and took some sort of undefined role in Mike DeWine's cabinet. And then now you're quitting that too. So I'm like, is there a problem between you and Mike DeWine we're not disclosing? Or do you just crack under pressure? Why are all these health commissioners and health directors quitting across the country while we're still in the middle of the pandemic? It begs the question, is Dr. Fauci going to quit? I feel like if Dr. Fauci hasn't quit, nobody else needs to quit because he's the most disrespected health professional in America right now. Trump has literally silenced that dude multiple times from March into today, ignored his advice, contradicted his advice, and disrespected him in major ways. If Dr. Fauci hasn't quit, I feel like everybody else needs to hang in there. Is it just me? So I'm like, are y'all being divas? Meanwhile, I'm like, the health commissioner in New York City says she's not being listened to. But we watched the mayor of New York City go from thousands of cases per day with 8 million citizens in New York to they got less than 10 people getting COVID per day. So something he's doing right. Something's working. Let me check that out. How many new cases of COVID is New York City getting per day? It's my understanding it's not a lot. Let me check that. New COVID cases in New York City. Let's see what they on. New COVID cases in New York City. Let's see how many cases they get per day. So yeah, they flattened their curve. Respect. So they literally used to get 8,000 at the peak in April 15th. New York City had 8,505 new cases per day. As of July 31st, they only got 703. So I'm like, the time to quit, in my opinion, for the New York City Health Commissioner was in April of 2020. Why are you quitting now when it looks like the mayor is getting it back under control? New York City has 8 million people. And you guys realize they have half of the new cases per day that we got. We're at 1,500. So I'm like, New York City went from having they have 231,000 COVID cases. So I'm like, I think they're doing the right thing. I don't know why everybody's quitting. Is it just me? Where y'all at? What do y'all think? Are they cowards? Are they being ignored? And should they quit? Or should they find a way to push through the problems to make their voice heard because we need them? Is it just me? I can't see the comments. Oh, here we go. Hi, Fame. He said, I'm safe from Glenn and his inflammation with my boy parts. So I don't know. That's just me. What else have I seen this week? Let's talk about your boy Keita Haynes, your girl Keita Haynes. Black female running for Congress in Tennessee. Y'all see her? What an amazing story, y'all. So basically, she got convicted for marijuana charges, 4 years. So I'm like, how much weed did she get caught with to end up doing 4 years in jail for marijuana? But she's a felon, convicted felon for marijuana, did 4 years. Kudos to her. She had her undergraduate degree before she went to jail, or she was in the middle of it. Finished her undergraduate degree, got out, went to law school, became a practicing lawyer, and now she's running for Congress. I'm like, what a comeback story. Fame doesn't believe that she's innocent. He thinks, hey, Charles, that everybody claims to be innocent. But what do you think? Would you vote for an ex-felon for Congress? That's the question on the table. I like her story. I don't know about all ex-felons, but I think I'll stream you guys for a quick second. All right, I'm back. My bad. So basically, can you vote for an ex-felon? I think I could. I think I could do it in her situation only. Hold on, let me make sure that we are back and we are on. Can you guys do me a favor? And if you see me and hear me, let me know in the comments. I'm not sure what happened. And if you guys can still see and hear me. So I just want to make sure that we still got a feed. So at any rate, that's what's going on with Keita Haynes in Tennessee. Ex-felon for Congress. I love the story. I'm real interested to see how she ended up doing 4 years for weed. That seems excessive. I'm like, I don't know how they do weed, but is it about a pound? Is it about a kilo? How much weed do you have to have in order to go to jail for 4 years? That's the question. Do you believe her? She says she's innocent. So she did her time, but she's still claiming that she didn't do whatever it is that she ended up going to jail for. I don't know. Did she get caught up with a dude? I don't know the backstory on her. But she would get my vote. Let's talk about your boy Trump this week. Y'all see this dude? I'm going to try to get Nathan to play the clip. This dude was talking about COVID in an interview. And he said that we are doing better in the world. Let's see if we can play the clip. Nate, can you play the clip? And show everybody what the dumb POTUS has said this week. He never ceases to amaze me. Let's see. Here we go. Hit it. Listen to your president. He ain't my president. He y'all president. Listen to what he had to say. Let's see. Is it playing yet?
Love to.
We're going to look.
Let's look.
And if you look at death,
Yeah. Started to go up
here's
again.
one. Well, right here,
That is, he was arguing back and forth with, and I don't know who that guy is that's interviewing him, but he was basically interviewing Trump about the flip-flop between him, of Trump. And he goes back and forth on COVID. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask. It's fake. It's a hoax. It's really real. Stay inside, go out, close schools, open. So he's basically going back and forth with this dude about, Trump's inconsistent positions on COVID. And Trump had the nerve to say, y'all, we are doing better than the world. Is this dude delusional? We're literally one of the worst countries when it comes to COVID and how we're handling it and our numbers. I'm like, what stats are you looking at? So Trump was fumbling with papers as usual. And he kills me. He's always talking about fake news. I'm like, yo, Trump, you are fake news and you are delusional. And this is one of the reasons you got to go. Like, we're in the middle of the worst pandemic we've ever had, thanks to you and your shenanigans and giving away all our PPE and your mishandling of it. We got no money coming from the government except the fake $1,200 that we got in, what was that, April? And now you're walking around with 15,000 new COVID cases per day in Florida talking about U.S. is the best. Stop, my dude. Please stop. So that was something else this week. What about, let's talk about, every now and then I like to do something called the Head Scratch Award. And that's when I see something that just makes me scratch my head, like what in the hell did he say or what's happening? So you already know.
and if you look at death,
Yeah. Started to go up
here's
again.
one. Well, right here, the United States is lowest in numerous categories. We're lower than the world.
Lower than
We're
the
lower
world?
than
What is that?
Europe.
In what?
Look.
In what?
Take a look. Right here. Here's case death.
Oh, you're doing death as a proportion of cases. I'm talking about death as a proportion of population. That's where
Exactly.
the US is really bad.
Well,
Much
Right.
worse than South Korea, Germany, etc.
you can't do that. You have
Why
to go,
can't I do that?
You have to go by where. Look, here is the United States. You have to go by the cases. The cases.
Why
are
not
there.
as a proportion of
when
population?
we have somebody, what it says is when you have somebody that where there's a case.
Oh, okay.
The people that live
Sure.
from
Oh.
those cases.
It's surely a relevant statistic to say if the US has X population and X percentage of death of that population
No,
versus
because you
South
have to
Korea.
go by the cases.
Well, look at South
All right,
Korea,
let's
for
stop right
example.
there.
51
So
million
this dude does
population,
not want to look at
300 deaths.
proportionality, y'all. He thinks that we should just look at, hey, we got a low number of deaths, even if the amount of deaths we have in proportion to how many people live in our country means that we're not doing well. What a spin doctor he is not. Look, this dude is a fool, but that's y'all's president. So I want to know, do y'all think that COVID-19 and his mishandling of the pandemic is going to be enough to take him out? Or is he going to get reelected in November? Like, I'm concerned. And the reason I'm concerned is because Joe Biden has one job, in my opinion. Shut up and dribble, dude. If you can't beat Donald Trump for president, you don't deserve to be in politics ever again. Trump is such a disaster. And you literally have a whole following that doesn't give a shit about your platform or lack thereof. or what your lack of commitment or promises to the country are. They just say anybody but Trump. All you got to do is coast. But every month we hear from you and you manage to put your foot in your mouth. So I remember a couple of months ago, he told the Breakfast Club, Charlemagne to be exact, that you're not black if you don't vote for him. Well, let's listen to the dumb BS that he had the nerve to say yesterday, and let's talk about it. Hit it.
Yes, and by the way, what you all know, but most people don't know, unlike the African-American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community with incredibly different attitudes about different things.
Let's stop right there. So some folks literally were like, Donnie B, what's the problem with that? Are you kidding me? Y'all don't see a problem with this dude basically saying that we're monolithic? So here's what I want to know before I get into all my issues with what he said. What I want to talk about is, why was the African-American community even coming out of your mouth? The whole point that he was trying to really make is that basically Latinos across the U.S. feel differently about the immigration issues that they face here in the U.S. That was it. You got one job, dude. Shut up and dribble. Why are African-Americans constantly in your mouth in a negative way? So I'm wondering, is this dude really just Trump-like? The Roots called him, they said discrimination and then Diet Pepsi discrimination. And I thought that's what we're getting here. If anybody's under any grand delusions that it's going to be a major difference between Trump and Biden, I want to stop you. I think it'll be a little bit better, but I think it'll be marginally. This dude is suffering from early onset dementia. Historically, he has not been great for black folks. And he shows us time and time again that he has no filter and dumb stuff just flows out of his mouth like he has Tourette's. So I'm like, first of all, what's wrong with what he said? Are we monolithic? No, we are not. So all blacks don't feel the same on all issues. Him, to be exact. So does this guy not realize that there is literally a divide in the African-American community where some of us are like, you know what, we're just not going to vote at all. We hate Trump. We hate you. We don't like what you did with the 1994 crime bill. We're tapping out of the race completely. And then there are others that are like, you know what, anybody but Trump. So even though I don't like Biden, I'm going to vote for him. Same thing with the crime bill. Does he not realize that blacks are split about whether or not they agree that the 1994 crime bill that he was responsible for did us harm and how much harm? What does he mean we're monolithic? We don't feel the same about Black Lives Matter movement. We don't even feel the same in Cincinnati about the BLM mural downtown on Plum Street. So to me, it's an insult. You're basically saying that black people are simple-minded and feeble, and that we all think the same. We're all the same, but I'm not. Somebody in my feed, I think it was Brian Jones, was like, well, no, I think what he's saying is, Latinos, they come from different countries and all different parts of South America. So it's not the same for you to be Puerto Rican, have different needs than Dominican versus Cuban. And, because we don't have a point of reference as African Americans and come from different countries of origin. I'm like, so you think that means we're monolithic? I'm like, no. There's a difference between African Americans based on what side of town you live on, what city you live in. Blacks in Jersey and New York City are totally different than blacks that come from Louisville, Kentucky, and Lexington, Kentucky, and Georgia, and Miami, Florida. They're totally different than West Coast. There's a whole East Coast, West Coast vibe. There's a whole Northern and Southern vibe among black folks. There's a divide between how we feel about homosexuality and LGBTQ issues and not. There's a divide about how we feel about Barack Obama and whether or not he really did as much for the country as we thought he would. There's a divide on reparations, whether or not we should get them and what those look like. What is Biden talking about? Just shut up, dude. Just do us a favor. Let whoever your advisors are do the talking for you. Stay away from the cameras and just show up in November with a suit and a tie, ready to work. That's it. Don't talk anymore, because I'm literally a banana peel away from not voting at all. And every time I get pissed at Trump and I say, you know what, I got to vote for Joe Biden because Trump is a disaster, Biden does something or says something that makes me think I can't do it. I'm like, dude, help me help you. I'm trying to hold my nose and vote for you, dude. But you keep talking and saying dumb shit, and it's making it hard for me. Is it just me? Like, my stomach hurts about the fact that come November, I got to vote for this dude and that he is my choice. Because he is not. But I'm stuck between him and Donald Trump, and I'm devastated. I feel like he oversimplified us. It shows a lack of respect. It basically makes it seem as if black people have no depth and no diversity of thought and diversity of background, but Latinos do. So what? That makes them better than us, homie? Okay, just stop talking. So, which brings me to something else that I discovered this week. Let's see. Biden and other white liberals see us as a monolith. Exactly. Notice how posters talk about white college-educated women, white suburban women, white men with a high school education, etc. But then they just say the black vote. Exactly. That's what they do to us, Alicia. I agree. We have to get him out of here. I rebel. I'm trying. I am trying to vote for this dude. I really am. But he makes it so hard. If he could just shut the hell up for a minute, then I can manage to muster up the energy to go to the polls and actually click his name. He makes it very difficult. Same thing with his VP choices. So let's talk about it. This week, we heard that it's down to Susan Rice versus Kamala Harris. So for those of you who don't know, Susan Rice was Barack Obama's former national security advisor. And then you got Kamala Harris, Congresswoman, former presidential candidate herself. She claims to be black, female. I think she's an AKA out of California. Here's my thing. And this is my problem with Biden. So we said we wanted your vice president to be a black female. So we get stuck with Kamala Harris and Susan Rice. And my question for y'all is, are they black though? Are they black women? Are they really down for the black agenda and the black cause? So Kamala Harris has a white husband, terrible record against African Americans as a prosecutor and attorney general of California. And then you got Susan Rice, white husband as well. And guess what, y'all? To add insult to injury, her son goes to Stanford. And he is an avid Trump supporter and a Republican. And is actually the president of the Stanford Republican party that they have on campus. And his slogan is, "Make Stanford Great Again." How in the hell do we end up with these two quote unquote black women as the VP choice? Is it just me? Make Stanford Great Again. Avid Trump supporter. That's her son. So here's my question. If Biden picks your mother to be VP, what you gonna do? Are you gonna switch to the Democratic Party and support your mom and Joe Biden? How do you end up Susan Rice if you're really woke and you're really down for African Americans? How does your son turn out like this? Because I'm black and my son hates Trump on his own because I've raised him to be culturally aware of self, to be aware of racism, systemic racism, and the issues that are unique to African Americans in this country. So there's no way with the job that I'm doing with my son that he could ever support Trump or anybody that's down with Trump or anybody like Trump. So it begs the question for me, are you really a sister for real? Because if you are, then what the hell happened to your kid? To me, I was raised that you could tell a lot about a tree from its fruit. So your son is your fruit. And he's a Trump supporter, Republican, and clearly confused. So my question is, do we really have two black women as candidates for VP? I'm not sure. And I don't even have anything against racial dating, interracial dating, or marriage per se. But I feel like a lot of black women and black people, period, that interracially date and get married to a lot of African Americans that marry white people, they usually become watered down and they're so busy trying to acclimate themselves and fit into the white culture of their spouse that they lose sight of the issues that are unique and important to African Americans. And they're so busy trying to assimilate that they become whitewashed. So I'm looking at Kamala Harris, I'm looking at her record and how she was prosecuting African Americans left and right for marijuana charges. I'm like, yo, you and your girl Keita in Tennessee would not be friends. People asked her, to get rid of some of the low-level marijuana prosecutions and to change her ways. And some of the African Americans that were wrongfully convicted under her watch, they went and asked her for clemency, and she refused. And not only that, but when African Americans that were convicted under her watch were found innocent due to DNA, she still was fighting against them getting a check for being wrongfully incarcerated. So I feel like I'm back at the same BS. I'm stuck between Trump and Biden. And now I'm stuck between Harris or Rice. Screw them both. Where's your girl? Shoot, what's the one I like? Not Stacey Abrams, because she got tax problems, so we gonna leave her right where she is. What is the girl's name? Ayanna. What is her last name? I like her. Let me look her up real quick so I can tell y'all who that is. Hold on. Let me move this over. What is that girl's name? She's a congressman. She's a part of the federal gang of five, is what I call them. There are, but Ayanna, is it, let me see, Ayanna. Oh my goodness. I can't think of her name. Help me, y'all. But I like her. Somebody said Susan Bass, Susan Rice, Kamala Harris in that order. Interesting, Susan Bass. Why Susan Bass, Sarah? Tell me what you're thinking. Thank you. Ayanna Presley. Her name was escaping me. What's the matter with her? Can we get a real sister? And I'm not even saying that because of her complexion. Just can we get somebody that's black for real with a proven track record of trying to support and advocate for the black agenda? Now, I'll give Kamala credit. Her and Cory Booker, you know, are avid supporters and drafters of the Justice and Policing Act, which I think is a good start to police reform. But even that bill has some problems. But I'm like, why these two? I think it's these two because they're moderate and they're watered down. And so is Joe Biden. So for these people that have grand delusions or of grandeur that Biden is going to do things differently than Trump, I wonder, what are his judicial choices going to be? Right, a sister for real. Took off the wig, showed you that she has alopecia, which is an issue that many African-American women face, you know, when they hit their 40s. She rocked braids, afros, and all kinds of stuff in Congress before she lost her hair. Hold on. Let's see. Is it Just Me Podcast?
No.
Hello, hello. Who do we have on the line?
Good afternoon, Johnny B. This is Sarah.
This is who?
Sarah.
Oh, hi, Sarah. How you doing?
I'm all right. All right. I met Karen Bass, not Susan Bass.
Oh, Karen Bass. Got you. Turn up your phone a little bit, love, so we can hear you better.
Yeah, I mean, she's got a good resume. You know what I mean?
All right. Tell us about it. Why do you think that Karen Bass?
She's been an activist. She's been around a long time. I think she goes way back to when Schwarzenegger was governor.
Right.
I think she was head of the House at that point in time, the majority leader. Outside of that, prior to that, she had a nonprofit organization in LA. Where she's done, you know, quite a bit of work. This was right around, and this is history. You know, we're talking about going way back to Rodney King days.
Right.
So, she's been around a while, and she's a respected member of Congress. She doesn't have the same type of baggage, obviously, that either Susan Rice or Kamala Harris has. If in the event that we were to look at Susan Rice, you've got a couple of problems.
What?
Her son being one and Benghazi being the other.
I knew you were going to bring up Benghazi. I just learned about that issue. I didn't remember that was something they were trying to blame on her. But it's my understanding Benghazi was not her fault. She tried to warn the dude that was in the U.S. Embassy at the time, and he didn't listen, so he ended up, you know, getting killed. It is what it is. Did you see they're trying to bring up, though, Susan Rice? They're trying to talk about that she emailed Hillary Clinton from her personal email server at her home, too. So I'm like, seriously, it's 2020. Are we still talking about Hillary Clinton's emails? And now we're about to do the same thing with Susan Rice? Make it make sense.
Well, we're talking about the 1994 crime bill, right?
Of course we are. That's fair. That's fair. But actually, that's not fair. Let me back up. I think there's a difference because we're still feeling the effects of the 1994 crime bill. And that has a harmful, detrimental effect on African Americans that survives generations. I don't feel like Hillary using her personal email account has long-standing negative effects on the country. It has zero negative effects on the country, actually. I think the only thing that happened was that the Republicans made a big deal out of it. But what harm did Hillary using her own emails?
And they will make a big deal out of it during this season.
But I think it's a red herring. What is the problem with it?
I guarantee you.
They will. They will.
Here's the vice president nominee, and that person debates with Pence.
Right.
He's going to get talking papers that is going to bring that up. Now, on the other hand, we just in a mess. I just got to keep it real. We're
Right.
in a mess. I thought, I'm saying to myself, well, maybe a woman vice president would be a radical,
Step.
idea. And that's probably what the Democratic Party actually needs.
Right.
Because women outside of race, and I know that's going to be an issue, they still have similar issues, whether it's reproductive rights, whether it's, breaking that patriarchal ceiling, whether it is equal pay, a number of different issues, that women can, attest to that have really nothing to do with race. So I don't know if an event that a black woman is going to make that much of a difference at all. I think for the most part, it's going to probably invigorate the voting bloc, Democratic voting bloc, because it's something new. It's something different.
But do you think, let's talk about that, because here's my question. I don't think that Kamala Harris will invigorate the Democratic voting bloc and get people that otherwise don't vote to come out. Here's my take on the election. I don't think that Joe Biden can win with just the moderate vote. He needs to secure a significant portion of the African American vote, and he needs to pull Barack Obama type numbers, I think. And I don't think that any of the young African Americans that normally don't vote or that are voting for the first time are going to be inspired by Kamala or Susan Rice. They don't even know who the hell Susan Rice is. And Kamala's track record with the African American community is not good. And her white husband doesn't help. Is it just me?
No, it can't. I mean, I get you. I'm not really a big fan of Kamala Harris. Given her history as a prosecutor in California.
And I don't know if she can help get the job done and secure the bag. I just don't. I think Biden is in trouble. He keeps putting his foot in his mouth. He needs somebody that we're basically like, we're not voting for you, Biden. We're voting for her. And I don't know if Susan or Kamala does that for me.
I think Karen Bass would be his best choice.
Anybody else? Is it just me?
No, ain't nobody else. Ain't nobody else, in my opinion. That.
Is she popular enough? I'm gonna be honest. I forgot about her.
Was Pence popular?
Say that again.
What did you know about Pence before he became vice president?
Yeah, Mike Pence wasn't popular, but he's not black. I feel like white folks can do that. I didn't know Ross Perot before he came out and decided that he was running for vice president. I didn't know Quayle. I didn't know Mitt Romney. But I feel like they have that luxury. We don't. I feel like in the African American community, you need to have a name for yourself and be visible. And if you're not, then you're not going to draw the vote. The Republican Party toes the line in a way that we just don't. If we don't know you.
Well, that's why I think Karen Bass would probably be safe. She doesn't have a whole lot of name recognition, but once she's actually announced and everybody looks at this woman's resume, they will know that she's probably the best, in my opinion, under these circumstances, because we don't have much to choose from. Let's just be honest. I
feel like Ayanna Pressley would have been better. And what was it? Val would have been good.
Val Hemmings?
Yeah. What's the matter with her?
That's interesting. Well, that's a possibility, I guess.
I'm like, where the real black women at? Like, I'm like, your son?
That's not going to happen.
Why not, though? And that's the problem. And I think this is what Diddy was saying. Like, you know what, Joe Biden, we need real receipts. So you basically placate us. So technically, these are two black women up for VP. But are they really black, though? Is the question.
You got a good point.
And I'm like, so are you going to do the same thing with the judicial appointments? One of the reasons that people want Trump out is because they don't like what he's done with the judges. So there's a commitment or an assumption that Biden is going to give us better judicial choices. But if this is what you're doing for VP, I don't even trust you to pick the black judges. Who are they going to be? Are we going to get a whole bunch of Clarence Thomases on the court? I'm not confident that if Susan Rice and Kamala become VP, that they're going to make life better for us.
I'd rather see her as AG.
Me too. I'd rather see Kamala as Attorney General, honestly. Run the DOJ.
Yeah.
Do that. You know what I'm saying? push the civil rights agenda, beef up the civil rights section of the Department of Justice, and keep it moving. But vice president, I don't know.
I wanted to also comment on, one of the posts that you had regarding the young lady that got suspended for taking a picture. I thought that was sad.
Oh, the Georgia student.
One of the things.
Yes. So for those who aren't up to speed, so there's a Georgia high school student. Georgia started back school last week, and the high school was packed with a whole bunch of teenagers, no face masks. And so she posted it on social media, and they suspended her yesterday from school. So what did you want to say about that, Sarah?
Well, I think that's sad. But then this is one of the problems that you really have as it applies to school systems.
Exactly.
Being basically independent of anything else that might be normal.
Right.
School systems basically are in their own world and they do their own thing.
Right.
The question is, why isn't it that they just won't do straight digital until these damn numbers come down?
I don't know. I don't understand it. And the principal of the school, he said he suspended the little girl because she violated their policy that says you're not supposed to be,
Who gives a damn about policy?
Exactly.
When we're talking about lies.
Right.
Lies.
And they said they knew there were going to be kinks in the armor when we started back to school, and they're working through that, but they can't make the kids wear a mask. I'm like, well, then why are we open? What do you mean kinks in the armor? So how many kids got to get COVID while you're trying to work that shit out is what I want to know. So I'm like, what do you mean? So you started back under this blended hybrid model, and you got all these kids packed in the hallways with no face mask and a bottleneck. And he's like, oh, well, it's only for 5 minutes as they pass classes. Well, you got to pass classes 6 or 7 times per day. So for 5 minutes, 6 to 7 times per day, all these kids are clustered in the hallway with no face mask to catch COVID. Are you kidding me?
It's just stupid.
It's stupid. And if I was her parent, I'd sue their ass. Like, you're not going to suspend my daughter because she exercised her right to tell the truth and expose the BS. But my daughter wouldn't even be there. That would have been her first and last day of school. So I want to know what's up with these parents that are going to send their kids back to school in this nonsense, unless you have to. So with the parents that don't have any other place for their kids to go, I get it. What's the problem?
Let me tell you something, though. I tell you what's going to happen. If that young lady's parents wants to take this up and take it into a court system,
right,
it's going to move.
Look at this. Look at the hallways. Y'all see that? This is the first day of school at this Georgia high school while we're still in the middle of a pandemic. And you see all these kids. It's like 1 in every 20 kids has a face mask. And the principal's response was, we can't make them wear it, and we're trying to work out the kinks. And they're only clustered up like this for 5 minutes as they pass classes. Well, why are they passing classes at all? At CPS, Superintendent Mitchell said they're not going to pass classes. You got to stay in the classroom for the whole day. And this is the reason. Even with half the kids at school, that's a lot.
Yeah.
It is.
It is.
And it makes me wonder. Go ahead.
I'm actually wondering, I have a couple of friends that are actually teachers, and I haven't even bothered to give them a call.
Right.
To kind of give them, to find out what are their thoughts about this. I mean, what are the risk factors they're willing to take for a paycheck as opposed to their livelihood or their actual life?
Exactly. My sister is in an education profession. They're not. They're doing
to be forced in a situation where you have to make a choice between a paycheck and your life.
Exactly.
Wow.
It's horrendous.
And Nate mentioned, no, I don't think it was Nate. Yeah, it was. He made mention earlier about what Michelle Obama had made mention of in her whole podcast thing.
What'd she say?
Low depression. Some form of a low-grade depression that everybody, I cannot see where nobody is not experiencing. They may not look at it consciously or be conscious of it, but there's just no way that you could not be experiencing some form of low-grade depression as a result of all of this shit that's going on.
Exactly. And my thing is, what are we going to do about it? Laura Mitchell said that she was talking to the teachers union to hear their perspective, but I'm like, the decision is already made. So are you just talking to them just to say that you did it? Or if they tell you they don't feel comfortable going back to school, what are you going to do? What are you prepared to do? Because I feel like their voice is not being heard. But let's segue into, I want to talk about, hey, Brenda, happy Friday. And Alicia, I'm going to come back to your comment that you made earlier about how can we be a monolith when some blacks are being watered down. So I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to move on to the next topic that I want to talk about. Take care, and thanks for calling. You too. So what I want to know is, do y'all believe Mike DeWine, he supposedly has COVID? And he said, so what happened is Trump was coming to town yesterday. So as a part of the security measures, anybody that comes into contact with Trump has to get tested for COVID-19, which I think is the joke, because it's the same president that said it's a hoax and you don't got to wear a face mask, but he won't let anybody near him now unless they get tested. So DeWine gets tested, and he's with one of those rapid tests, and he's positive. So he's coming back to Cleveland or Columbus today, I believe, or this week, and he's going to get the extended test to reconfirm. Question, do you even believe that Mike DeWine has COVID? Or was that just an excuse because he did not want to be seen at this event with Trump? So he's like, yo, I got COVID-19, I can't make it. And number two, what do you think is going to happen if now that Mike DeWine is positive for COVID-19? My issue is, where did he get it from? He's wearing a face mask. He's sheltering in place. He's maintaining 6 feet apart, and he's still got COVID-19. So then are you really going to let our kids go back to school? Are you really going to let us stay open, or are you going to go back to sheltering in place? DeWine, according to him, hasn't been doing anything since March. He's been being safe, following all the CDC guidelines and all that nonsense. So how did he get COVID? That's the question. So I think one of two things is going to happen. It's going to be a false positive, because you know these rapid tests are not 100% valid. They have like a very extremely low accuracy rate of like 30%. So he might not even have it. But if he does have it, is his perspective going to change? Because I believe that Mike DeWine started out strong. I've never been a DeWine fan, but I had a newfound respect for him and appreciation for him in the beginning of this thing with the way he was handling himself and handling our state. He was a model governor. And then I feel like he caved under pressure. See what I mean? Alicia says, oh my God, I told y'all, false positive. Second test, he don't have it. I call bullshit. I don't think he ever had it. Alicia says he took another test, which was negative. Right. I think it was a false positive because those rapid tests don't work. Or it was an excuse for him to get out of having to be seen with Trump. Nice dodge. But my issue is, if he did have it, what was he going to do with the school system? Because if you got COVID doing nothing and following all the safety precautions, then what do you think is going to happen when our babies return to school? So I call BS. I think it was a hoax because he didn't want to be there. And I call BS in those rapid tests. He's not the first person that I know. I know several people that have tested positive with those rapid tests. And then later, it turned out that the test wasn't real. And I believe DeWine started out strong. And then when people started showing up at the state capitol with AR-15s and the Republican base and the voters that he needs to secure his reelection started complaining about sheltering in place, he reopened Ohio and didn't give two dams or two fucks about us. Excuse my language. He's sending our babies back to school. He's reopening bars. And then we hit spikes. So now we're at double the numbers. We went from having 450 new cases of COVID per day in March to now we're at over 1,500. That's not even double. That's quadruple. That's 3 times the amount. Almost 4 times the amount of new COVID cases per day. Hamilton County is in the red. And he sees the error of his ways. But how's he going to walk it back? Does he have the balls to walk it back and reclose the state? Does he need to reclose the state? Do you believe the numbers? I want to know how many of the numbers on these new 1,500 COVID cases per day were based on the real COVID-19 test or this rapid response BS that has all these false positives. Is it just me? I don't know. The school can make changes if you're wearing spaghetti straps, but can't make students wear masks. Right. Talk about it, Alicia. I agree. So that principal in Georgia talking about there's nothing we can do if we don't want to wear a face mask. You heard our superintendent, Laura Mitchell, said that shit is not optional. And I feel like it's one thing if you're like, hey, you know, the kids aren't going to wear them all day. We're going to give them breaks. But to say you can't make them start out with a mask each day, who's running the school? Why? And if you can't do that, then why have school open, Renita? I think it's way to stop the voting come election time. Yeah, I don't know. It might be. It might be a way to stop the voting come election time. You must be talking about COVID-19. Alyssa Milano had 3 negative tests, but a positive antibody test. These tests aren't dependable. Right, Alicia? I'm like, what is going on? Like, I feel like the science keeps changing. First, it was you got to have N95 masks specially fitted to customize to your face in order to be safe. Then it was, oh, we don't need N95 masks. Regular masks that you make from home in your kitchen can be used and they're safe. Then it was, oh, this doesn't last in the air. Then it's, oh, there's droplets in the air. Then it's, we got to be 6 feet apart. Then I saw stuff that's saying, oh, no, 3 feet apart. Like, what is going on? Oh, the rapid test. Oh, then no, we got the long test. Like, the science keeps changing. The health directors and commissioners keep quitting. I'm like, let's just call 2020 what it is. It's trash. Close down. I'll catch y'all in 2021. Sarah says if he recloses the state and the government is still bullshitting about another stimulus check, there's another issue. Right. Can we talk about it? Where's my money at? We still don't have unemployment. We only got $1,200. People's businesses are still not the same. What is the deal? Let's talk about Ebony Magazine. Did y'all see that BS? You got to flash this on the screen, Nate. I was blown. Can we talk about it for a second? Is this what the Black Lives Matter movement has become, y'all? So first of all, I'm going to put a caveat out there. I don't know if this Ebony Magazine cover is real. I searched everywhere on the internet yesterday, and I can't see where Ebony Magazine is still doing anything. I saw they filed bankruptcy this month in federal court, but I couldn't see where this Ebony Magazine issue was real. But let's take a look at it. So basically, it's what I call the LGBTQ Black Gay Lover cover. And it says, Black Lives Matter. I can't read. Let me see. I can't read that part because the thing is in the way. Black Gay Love. So my question is, there it is, Black Boy Joy and Black Gay Love. That's what they have underneath Black Lives Matter. Let me do that again. Black Lives Matter, Black Boy Joy, and Black Gay Love. Are you serious? And then they got 2 Black homosexuals on the cover. And I'm like, okay. So have the homosexuals and LGBT community hijack the Black Lives Matter movement? Is it just me? What the hell is going on? My position is I didn't sign up for this shit. For me, Black Lives Matter was a slogan, first of all, that was aimed at police to say, basically, you treat us as if the African-American lives in the U.S. don't matter, and they do. And we want you to stop killing us, stop beating the hell out of us, and violating our constitutional rights. And now BLM is trying to lump and convolute it and add the LGBTQ agenda to the movement. I'm not here for it. I'm not here for it. To me, this is disturbing for multiple reasons. And this brings me back, Alicia, to how African Americans are not a monolith, because there's a strong segment of the African American community that probably sees nothing wrong with this Ebony Magazine cover. And then there's me. I'm disgusted. I don't support the LGBTQ lifestyle, never have. I don't discriminate against anybody. I don't bash anybody. I respect everybody, but I don't support the lifestyle. And I don't believe that the BLM movement should be conflated with the LGBTQ movement. I don't. And there's a difference of opinion in the Black community. That's why Biden needs to shut the hell up. I'm back there. I'm sorry, I'm stuck. And I feel like, back to your question about how can I say we got a Black agenda, but then say we're not monolithic. It's no different than Latinos. There's some things that they do that are monolithic, but then there are some things that they do that are not, just like us. There are some things that most African Americans feel the same about. And then there's other things that we don't. I feel like when it comes to police brutality, we feel the same. We're clear that shit needs to stop. George Floyd, I can't breathe all day. We're a monolith on that issue. But then there's other issues like this where we feel different. Reparations and what that looks like. Affirmative action and what that looks like. Should we have it? Should we not have it? So I feel like we can be both, a monolith and diverse at the same time. And Joe Biden put us in a box that he shouldn't have put us in. And I'm not here for the BLM LGBTQ combination. I'm just not here for it. It's not a 1-2 punch. Our issues are different. Is it just me? I don't like it. But here's the problem. Y'all know that 2 of the founders of the Black Lives Matter organization are homosexual lesbian women. So do we need to back away from the Black Lives Matter movement or from that slogan and come up with something else so we can separate ourselves from the LGBTQ situation? Is it just me? I couldn't confirm, whether that Ebony magazine cover was real, but I have been seeing a mixing of Black Lives Matter movement with homosexuality, lesbianism, transgenderism, and I'm not in agreement. I don't like it. Is it just me? I can't get down like that. Let me see. True, BLM is LGBTQ from the jump. Exactly. So maybe they're looking at us, the founders of BLM are probably looking at us like, yo, this is our shit. Who are you to tell us what we can conflate? We can mix the issues because we started BLM. But my thing is, no, did they? You started the organization, but the slogan, Black Lives Matter, didn't come from you. And the problems are not unique to gays. Is it just me? Sarah said he just read their manifesto. Alicia says there are Black pro-cop people who feel George Floyd was resisting and cops are good. Exactly. So we're not a monolith, Alicia. But I feel like for the most part, 90% of us feel like what happened with George Floyd was not acceptable. I'd actually venture to say 98%. I feel like we all differ on what's the one dude after George Floyd, where at first I was like, yo, I'm not sure I'm with him. The guy that was at the Wendy's, and he was drunk and fell asleep in the drive-thru in Atlanta. What's his name? His name escapes me right now. But I wasn't on his team immediately. He was wilding out. For me, what got me was the after-the-fact behavior, where the police end up kicking him in the face, and I think they spit on him. And that's when I was like, whoa, okay, we got a problem here. But my initial gut reaction to that situation in Atlanta was that guy was, trying to tase the police as he ran away. And I found that to be a problem. I didn't get on board with the racism issue until what they did after they had already shot him. That's when I got on board. So I said it to say that, Blacks feel differently about things. They do. The LGBTQ struggle is not the same as the Black struggle. Exactly. We need to back away from that. We do. But how do we back away from that? So do we stop wearing a Black Lives Matter shirt? Do we stop making donations? Do we stop supporting that organization? I also heard they got money issues. It's suspect on when you donate to BLM where the money goes. Have you guys heard about that? So I tried to look into it. And I was like, I don't really know what they do with the money. So somebody says that is what BLM always was. You have to research the origin. That's true, Just She. It was founded by 2 lesbians. But Rashard Brooks, thank you. Rashard Brooks is the dude in Atlanta. I don't think that all African Americans felt the same about Rashard Brooks. And so what do we do? My issue is, how do we separate ourselves? If BLM is moving a different direction, or in the same direction they've always been that we just didn't pay attention to on this LGBTQ platform, how do we as African Americans that care about police brutality, that didn't sign up for this extra shit, back away from that movement without hurting the movement overall? Is there a way for us to separate ourselves and separate the issues, or are we stuck with it? When brothers are married to Karen, then they act and think like her too. Pretty much. Let's go back to a second. There was something I missed. I wanted to talk about. Hold on. Did y'all see the article talking about things that are racist, terms and sayings that we use that are racist? And they actually said the term Eskimo is supposed to be racist now. We can't say that anymore. It's offensive. And I was like, are you kidding me? Stop. They got named Eskimos because they wore snowshoes. How is that offensive? So you're telling me the term Eskimo is now supposed to be a racial slur? So that means the same thing. It has the same kind of connotation as the N-word and all kinds of other real racial slurs. I'm not buying that. Is it just me? I feel like I'm getting tired. It's the same thing with the LGBTQ. I'm getting tired of people hijacking the racial discrimination plight of African Americans and trying to add on to it. Other minorities try to act like they got it as hard as us. People try to act like the Holocaust was as bad as slavery. I'm like, no, your stuff was bad. It was a 50-year stint where European Jews got tore up. No denial there. The Holocaust was horrific. But understand that was a 50-year, a 20-year, 30-year stint. Slavery was 400 years. Sir, not the same. Homosexuals in the LGBT community, y'all get messed up, but not on the same level as African Americans. So now you got the Eskimos. What do you call these people? Epiots, I think Epiots, what do they call themselves in that region? Now they're like, oh, I'm an Eskimo. Calling me an Eskimo is the same as the N-word. Stop it. Let's be realistic. It is not. They had other things on there. Using the word plantation shutters. Because, basically plantation shutters are the window treatments that were on big slave plantation houses in the South. I'm not really sure how I feel about that one. I got mixed views. For me, I care more about when you say master bedroom. That kind of rubs me the wrong way. My sister's a property manager. She hates that. So she's like, no, it's not master bedroom. I'll say main bedroom, but I'm not about to say master bedroom in 2020, and I agree with her. Inuits. There you go. There's two. There's Inuits, and then let me look up those people. There's Inuits, which are the region of people that are from Alaska, that are also Eskimos. And then there's the Aleut family, and the Nunavut family. All of them basically are Eskimos, and they were called that because of the type of shoes that they wear. How is that racist? Is it just me? But I feel like it's cool to be a victim of discrimination nowadays. Everybody wants some. You get reparations, you get reparations, you get reparations. Everybody gets reparations but us. Everybody hijacks the movement. And it becomes about everything other than ending race discrimination against African Americans. And I'm tired of it. So that's another reason why I got a problem with the LGBTQ community trying to hijack the BLM movement. It's not about y'all right now in this space. Same thing with the Inuits and the Eskimos. Have several seats. It's not race discrimination because you guys literally got named for the type of shoes that you wear. Back up. So you can't say plantation, but you will have a wedding at a former plantation. Facts, Alicia. The stuff that we become petty over. Is it just me? I don't know. But yeah, apparently Eskimo is offensive to them now. And I'm like, you know what? I don't have the patience for the BS. I don't. Black people in America got real problems. Calling you an Eskimo as a Native American, or not even Native American, but as an Alaskan Indian, for lack of a better word, is not a real problem. Take your Alaskan privilege and go back to where you came from and quit playing. I just don't feel it. I don't. I feel like we weren't called the N-word because that was the type of clothing that we wore or a shoe that we were wearing. It meant ignorant, and it was it was a term that was used to signify that we were less than human and that we deserve to be treated as less than human. And it represents a term that went through 400 years of slavery. And then still systemic racism that's going on for over 100 years after slavery and still going on today. We're still getting killed today. I just don't see that shit as the same. And I'm getting irritated. What VP candidates support reparations, not Kamala Harris? Oh, here you go. Here you go. The real question is, does Joe Biden support reparations? TNT was on me about Bernie Sanders because Bernie Sanders said, I want to look into it. But where is Biden on reparations? I haven't seen a reparations plan from this dude. Is it just me? I haven't seen that, Sarah, from any of them. I feel like it was a cool thing to say, last fall. But I haven't heard anybody talking about reparations now that the rubber has met the road. And it's time. We're getting closer to election time. I think it's less about comparing the plight and more about comparing who the oppressor is. Is it? I don't feel like Alaskans were oppressed to the same degree as we were either. I'm basically like, all minorities need to sit the hell down. Until Black people get a better situation, I don't have time for y'all. I just don't. Like, you guys aren't getting murdered and killed at the hands of the police the way we are. You're not getting discriminated against at work the way we are, or anything the way we are. A lot of the minorities don't even acknowledge the fact that they are minorities. They don't help out in the plot. The Chinese, let's talk about it. They didn't decide to join the fight for Black Lives Matter and police brutality until they became victims of discrimination because of COVID-19. Where the fuck were they for the movement before that? Karen is a slur to white women who want to be oppressed by any means necessary. Facts, Alicia, facts. So my issue is, if you're a minority in this country and you haven't done anything about the plight of African Americans, I don't have any love for you with your plight. I can't feel it. And I'm damn sure not willing to do a apples to apples comparison of the discrimination that you supposedly face in comparison to African Americans. I don't feel like anybody in the U.S. has it as hard as African Americans. And let's be clear, I don't feel like any people in the world have it as hard as Black people do all over the world, on all continents. Black people have it hard. Is it just me? So you can't say plantation, but we'll have a wedding at a foreign plantation. What do y'all feel about master bedroom? Is that offensive to you? There's some other slangs. Let me go back to that article and talk about some of the other things they felt were offensive. Let me see if I can pull it up. And then I want to go to your boy Biden's apology. Because I had people that was like, what do you mean? Biden didn't do anything wrong. And I was like, you guys are delusional. Even he sees the error of his ways. He apologized, y'all. Stop defending this dude at all costs. Let's see. Some other commonly used terms that are supposedly have actively racist origins. Some of these I've never even heard of. So we got, let's see, the kimono. Okay. So it's associated with the formal attire of Japanese culture, but over time, it's been misinterpreted from myths that certain Japanese warriors would open the robes to show someone that they were not hiding their weapons. Okay. How is that racist? I don't get it. Fuzzy Wuzzy? Never even heard of it. But they're saying it's a term used by British colonial soldiers to refer to the members of the East African tribe. I don't get it. Off the reservation, I have heard that. I think that is offensive. And suggesting that we're placing themselves outside of their allowed legal or social parameters. I think if I was Native American, I could see where that's offensive. Eskimo, get out of here. You know, the Eskimo pie is like an ice cream. They're changing their name. I'm like, whatever. Peanut gallery. So they're saying that's offensive because basically that's where African Americans used to have to sit in light of Jim Crow. I can deal with that. The paddy wagon. 19th century slang was used historically to refer to Irish immigrants who, upon being arrested, were put in a police van called a paddy wagon. Okay. Is it just me? Indian style. Now called, my son is crisscross applesauce. I don't really have a problem with Indian style as far as the way you sit. That's how they sat. I had a problem with the term growing up Indian giver, which was supposed to imply that you gave me something and then took it back. But I don't know that the Native Americans ever gave the white colonizers their land and then took it back. I think the European colonizers stole it. So Indian giver bothers me. I'm not really sure I have a problem with sitting Indian style. Is it just me? Let's see. So that's that. So let me see what other slangs they got out there. It is real estate talk that's being politicized. What's real estate talk? Master bedroom, you mean? So you don't have a problem with that, Sarah? I feel like we need not say it anymore. Mumbo jumbo was first used in the 1700s in West Africa by a traveling writer, Francis Moore, who described mumbo jumbo as a mass dancer who was involved in certain religious ceremonies. Okay, interesting. I could dig that. That's it. So I don't know. Is it just me? Are we being too sensitive, or not? I think the point they're trying to make is white colonizers use terms to humanize non-white people all over the globe, and it's all racist. I think some of these terms were used to dehumanize. Some were just used to describe what they saw. I don't feel like saying Indian style as far as the way they sat is dehumanizing. I don't think calling Eskimos because they wore snowshoes as dehumanizing. Some of the other terms, yeah, I agree with you, Nate. I think they were used to dehumanize us and they should stop. But some of the stuff, I think it's about differences. And they just used to describe or point out the difference. Let's see. Let's talk about Joe Biden's apology. Let me see what he has to say. So he apologized, as usual, because he put his foot in the mouth. He's the king of gas. So let's look at his Twitter. Earlier today, I made some comments about diversity in the African American and Latino communities that I want to clarify. In no way did I mean to suggest the African American community is a monolith. Not by identity, not on issues, not at all. Well, what did you mean? I mean, your words were clear. Unlike the African American community, the Latino community is diverse. So I get tired of these after the fact apologies where you try to make us feel like you didn't mean to say what you said. Just like when you had to apologize and say, I didn't mean that if you don't vote for me or you support Trump, you're not black. Yes, you did. What you didn't mean is that we would get offended. You didn't anticipate that. You didn't think that we would call you out on your BS and that we would notice your bullshit, but we did. So let's not say that you didn't mean it, because again, you're treating us like we're dumb. The bottom line is, shut the hell up, Biden. We are holding our nose and voting for your dumb ass because Trump is more of a disaster than you. But you're making it hard. You got one job. Put on a suit and tie. Come on TV, trash Trump, and get elected. Shut up and dribble. And that's my message to all you Biden supporters. Call that dude and tell him to shut up and dribble. I'm a banana peel away from not voting for him. I'm doing my best to hang in with y'all, anybody but Trump supporters, because that's against my religion. I don't believe in voting for somebody who doesn't give me anything in return for my vote. And I feel like Joe Biden is not giving me anything in return. I'm just going to not get what Trump is pushing. But I still have no clear understanding of what this dude's agenda is. And based on his past track record, I think it's going to be trash. Based on his whitewash VP choices, based on, the negative statements that he's made about African Americans and about a whole host of issues, he's still not producing his University of Delaware papers. I'm like, dude, I'm this close to saying I'm not voting at all. So to me, that's my show for the day. Message to Joe Biden is shut up and dribble. Is it just me, podcast? Send Digital Media your new urban voice in Cincinnati. You guys stay safe this weekend. I'm out. Peace. Are we still on?